Pretty wow. Let's see. Hey, my Legion, how y'all doing today? I'm here today to do like a triple threat 80's retrospective movies. Some I've some I haven't seen since I was little, and some I haven't seen at all. And they all, I think, they all reflect the 80's. And it's weird because Harper Valley PTA was actually made in 1968, 1978, I mean. But the TV show, which I remember seeing on Fridays on NBC, was in from 81 to 82, so that's pretty cool. Let me look that up so I get I get the correct thing. Oh, cool. I like that photo. Let's see. Look it up here. So I get the, I can't remember who sang the song. I'll start with Harper Valley PTA, of course. Because that was a okay. Yeah, it's a country song, and it was sang by Jeannie C. Riley back in 1968. And I was born in December of 1968, towards the very end. And I remember the song, and I remember as a kid, and I actually liked that song. I'm not the hugest country music fan, but I like that song. I like a lot of, like, there's some country songs growing up that I like that, and some Johnny Cash, and there was some cool stuff like "There's a Stranger in My House," Ronnie, and of course Charlie's Daniels, but that's like southern rock kind of, but with a country type thing, Double Down to Jordan stuff. And I like that song, and they decided to make a movie in 1978, and it was from something called April Fool's Films, because I figured, I mean, it kind of has the look of a TV movie, but a little bit more of a budget of a theatrical movie, or movie went to theaters. And I looked, and it said it was a hit movie. The song was a hit, and well, the one thing with the song, they played that during the opening credits, and it pretty much describes the movie. It gives you a scene of a whole feel of the movie, and basically the whole song is covered in the movie in like the first 15 minutes, where like she confronts the PTA and says that stuff, and then it goes into movie extra stuff. Um, and it had a budget of $1 million, and it was a hit. It made $25 million, which is pretty big back in the '70s, compared to that budget. And Barbara Eden starred in the film, and I mean, she started right away, and she is so hot. I always had a thing for Barbara Eden, and I mean. And aside from that, she's a great actress too. I mean, you start seeing her and say, "Dang!" I remember in the TV show they had some. I'm surprised it got on TV because it was getting risque. They had like a wet T-shirt contest, and then ended up she had a wet. I remember my dad saying, and she goes, and my dad was like, "Jesus!" She looked really good, and I mean, this was back when I was still in. Watch this, I was still in middle school, but she looked good. But she's a great actress, though. Don't ever let that get in the way. And because most guys grew up watching I Dream of Jeannie, always had a thing for Barbara Eden. But I mean, she looked really nice. And then she was in a weird obscure film. If I can find it on YouTube, I'll watch it again. Maybe do a review of it. Chattanooga Choo Choo, a movie that came and went, kind of like $1 Million Mystery. It came and went real quick, and she was in that. And she looked good. That was in '85. I think they tried to bring back I Dream of Jeannie, but I don't think I saw it as a TV movie. I don't think. I can't remember when I was on. If I was in the Army or what, I don't remember. Well, anyways, back to Harper Valley PTA. It basically starts where they play the song, you get the gist of the song, and they show the daughter come out. She's very, she's upset. And they have the blinds are down, the door's locked, which is kind of weird. And you see Barbie, and she's dancing, and her friends are playing the piano, and she's drunk, and there's two guys there, her and her best friend, two guys. And she said she was just raising a little ruckus, and her daughter was upset. She had a letter from the PTA. And basically was saying, like, we don't like the way you're raising we don't think you're a fit mother to raise your daughter because you're always drinking and having a good time with other guys and stuff like that. Nothing really bad. It's still a PG rated movie. It's a little bit risque, for like TV. They'd have to edit a little bit out. But I mean, nothing really that bad. Just like going out to the bar and having fun. I think a lot of the women in the PTA were very snobbish, like old, and they said they're old biddies, and they kind of like were, and they said if in the letter it said like if you don't change your ways, we're gonna expel your daughter from our school. And then she marched right up to the PTA, and she said, and she was saying like all the things like they do, like they have, some might be one person might be a thief, one where the guys always hit on her, or the other people are drunkards and stuff like that. And that's the gist of the song. And then they go on to this thing where the people of the PTA end up TPing her house. And it's weird because they had all different colored toilet paper. I never seen like, I just remember white, and they had like white, purple, and orange or something like that. I never seen different colors of toilet paper, not like that. Oh, Joey sent a sticker, cool. So like I said, with Google Chrome, they'll get like the notification right at the bottom of the screen, even if I'm doing a video like right now with you guys. And then they throw a rock through her window, and then she decides to get back at everybody in different ways. And it's pretty funny. It's the one thing I didn't like. Well, they had one thing where they this one guy, the older guy, and it's cool because you see a lot of people you've seen in TV before. I just can't remember their names. And it's one older guy, and she was talking to her, and he always drinks ginger ale. And they were at the bar, and then she said, "Well, why don't you come to this hotel? And we'll have a good time." And then she said, "We have to get all the way undressed." And then she starts to get undressed, and she asked him, she said he was all the way naked. And she said, "You have to put the do not disturb sign on the door." And then he goes outside, and she kicks him, and then she locks the door. So he's stuck out there. And then they go out, and she goes out the other, the window and down the fire escape, and her and her friend, she has his clothes, she just puts them in the trash, and her friends take off. And then he's like walking around naked, like covering his fires and stuff. And then he wraps himself into the fire hose that they had, the giant fire hose. And he's about ready to sneak into his car. He almost made it. And then the cop taps on the shoulder, "Hey, buddy, where's the fire at?" And then they freeze, and they go, "No, no, 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 no." I don't like the freezing part. That's kind of cheesy. It looks like some on a TV movie or something like that. And they had some other kind of elaborate things. Like this one guy was always getting drunk. They bought these elephants, and they spray painted them pink, and they let them loose in his house. And they destroyed his house and stuff. They had crazy stuff like that. And then they did the same thing. And then she runs for PTA. I don't want to give away anything else. It's a very entertaining film. I really liked it. I just don't like the part when everyone's like they had this lady that for a hairdresser, and I think they put like this hair remover thing in her, and she was losing like clumps of hair, and then at the very end she was like almost completely bald with gray hair, and she said, "No, don't photograph me, oh," like that, and they take a photo and they go, "No, no, 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 no." And I just didn't like that part. They freeze. I think I looked cheesy. But aside from that, it's a very entertaining movie. I enjoyed it. I give it a 9.5 out of 10 for Harper Valley PTA, which became a very entertaining TV series that lasted from 81 to 82. It didn't last that long. But I like the show. Next is High School USA, which I thought I've seen before. And I agree, Amber. Ian K. rules. He does rule. And what happened was, in this one, it's a TV movie, and it was influenced by all the teenage sex comedies. But I mean, this is TV. I mean, it's mentioned a teeny tiny bit, but it's super clean. And you have popular TV stars at the time: Nancy McKeon, Michael J. Fox was in it, Crispin Glover was in it, which was awesome. And then there's Dana Plato was in it, Todd Bridges was in it, Anthony Edwards was in it. He was the bad guy, believe it or not. I never seen him as a bad guy before. And he was like the rich kid that said he owned the school. And he's like, "I own the school. This school belongs to me. I'm the king. And you're all my court. The friend, and anyone who aren't my friends are nothing." And, well, he acted like that, like the rich kid. And they had a bunch of other familiar faces. They had Bob Denver was in there. It was cool to see him not dressed like Gilligan. And Don Wells, who played Marianne, had a small part in there, too. And they had some funny parts. The one thing was Crispin Glover. There's a couple of scenes with Michael J. Fox defending Crispin Glover, like a prelude to Back to the Future a little bit, which came out in '85 or '86. But I mean, I liked the movie for what it was. Um, it got a little, it's cheesy in some parts. Oh, and they also, speaking of the teenage sex comedy, they had that one guy, I can't remember his name. He was with him and Crispin Glover were like a comedy team. His name was Chuck, and he was also in some official sex comedies. He was in Private School, and he was in a movie called Hot Moves, what I didn't hear about till I was in the Army. I saw it. He's the guy that drank the bottle of ketchup, which was kind of gross. But I mean, the movie itself is pretty funny. It's a little cheesy with the robot, like Todd Bridges is like a science whiz. He creates a robot, and it's just a person in a silly costume walking around. They wasn't a real robot. And but it was very entertaining. I liked the movie. I don't think I ever seen it though, because I was gonna get it. I remember gonna get it. I was gonna get it in Dollar General. It was like $3. And I was like, I don't know if I want to get that or not. I kept confusing because there was another TV movie about school or summer camp where like some kid was supposed to be belching in a bus or something like that, and the guy said he was going to belch, and then it was like a little teen, and they booed him. I think Justine Bateman and Jason Bateman were in it, I think. But that was something completely different from this one. I don't think I ever seen this one before. I liked it. And there was some guy that was supposed to be like a takeoff of Dr. Strangelove as a German guy. He was a blind, and that was pretty funny too. I mean, he really overdid it, but it was good. And for the most part, it's very entertaining. I don't like giving away stuff or spoilers and stuff, but it was a fun movie. I give that another 9.5 out of 10. For High School USA, and it's on YouTube. All these movies are available for free on YouTube, which is really nice. Now, next is a movie called Ruckus. Now, I heard of Ruckus a lot growing up. Some of the kids saying that's a real good movie. You should see it. I just never got around to seeing it. It was at when Lampman used to own a home video exchange. It was like we used to go to Uncle Charlie's. It was right next to it, the home video place in Edinburgh, and that's like was like the hot spot. My dad was here and said, "All they have here is horror movies," and they did. That's why I rented stuff like Pieces and Gates of Hell and stuff like that. And speaking of Gates of Hell, Ruckus was on Paragon Video. And they were the ones that had like a lot of stuff that Elvira reviewed on her TV show, and I rented from them before. I remember renting Boarding House, a very cheesy made a shot on video movie, and the tagline for that was "If the rent don't kill you, something else will." And that was a really cheesy horror movie, but very entertaining. Far better. That's what. The Video Dead had a chance to be as entertaining as that, but it wasn't, which was a shame because I love Boarding House. And I remember renting Funeral Home, which is a Canadian horror film, and then, like I said, Gate to Hell. But Ruckus was there. I never rented it. I think it was on the CBS Late Night Movie, which is a conundrum in itself because a lot of times on Friday nights they would actually have a movie on there, but sometimes it would be a CBS Late Night Movie and they'd show like an episode of Alice or like a couple TV shows strung together. I remember David Letterman said the CBS Late Night Movie is not a real movie, but sometimes they did have it on Friday nights. They had real movies. They had like the network premiere of Hound of Baskervilles, the old Basil Rathbone one. I remember Dad and I making a copy of that, and they had like the network premiere of It's Alive, but I already saw that on, I already rented that on video a while back. And yeah, it was on there. I never saw it. I never got a chance to rent that, and I finally saw it. And it's like, it has lots of similarities to First Blood. And then I was looking at the comments, and then someone said First Blood, they said that Sylvester Stallone probably ripped off the idea of it. But in a way, I thought he did. And then someone said that there was a book, it was based off a book called First Blood that was made in 1972. I didn't know about that. And basically, it starts out kind of like describing the guy saying, like, no one can do anything worse to him. That's already been done to him and stuff. And I didn't know if it was going to be, it looked like a little bit of a bummer. I didn't know if it was going to be a bummer movie or not. And basically, he came in with a BDU jacket for Special Forces, all filthy, completely filthy, walking in town like this. Like a zombie kind of. And like all the local, it's like a redneck town, and all the local rednecks like, hey, look at this guy, look at this joker right here. And the sergeant's like, I don't think this guy deserves to be in this uniform. I don't think he doesn't look special forces to me, or stuff like that. And he goes up to order a hamburger, and he says, "You want a hamburger?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "How do you want it?" He goes, "Raw." He said, "You want to eat it? You don't want to cook it?" "No, I want raw." Like that. It's like, I don't know what direction this movie's taking. And then that guy that runs the town wanted to ask him, and he said, "I see that your jacket was the same unit that my son was in. Did you ever work with my son?" And then he just kind of walked away. And then they said, Mr. Whoever, the run of the town is not going to be happy because he ignored him. And so he asked a couple people to go up and follow him and ask him if he knows his son. And he gave him like $10. They asked him, and they stopped. It was like this guy named the sergeant. There's a couple other guys, and they grabbed him. And he freaked out, and he tried gouging out this guy's eyes. He threw one guy off the bridge, and then all of a sudden the cops came real quick. Well, I mean quicker than usual. And then it was Richard Farnsworth, and he ran into the woods, and he ran in the woods, and then the guy ended up, he sent one deputy in, and he ended up getting the gun from the deputy and then stealing his car. And then what happened was, you find out more about the guy who owned the town. He has a daughter-in-law played by Linda Blair. Linda Blair's in it, and her son, which would be his grandson, and she was pregnant with another kid. And she was married to his son that was missing in action. And then you find out later that it was confirmed that he was dead. And he was like, he was obsessed with finding his son, so he really wanted to talk to the guy. And then with everything happened, the guy was deemed dangerous. And then they said that he was in the psycho ward and stuff in the Army, and then the Army finally discharged him. And they said, proceed with extreme caution. Now, the weird thing is there's lots of parts of comedy in it. And lighthearted music, like when there's a chase scene and stuff like that. It's kind of like First Blood meets Dukes of Hazzard or Smokey and the Bandit, with a little bit of Rambo thrown in, too. And they even have like a Rambo-like movie poster that Tony put on the thumbnail. And thank you, Tony, for making a really cool thumbnail of all three movies in one thing. It was really cool. What else? And then Linda Blair. He walks in Linda Blair's house, so everything makes sense why the guys would be apprehensive of him, and she takes a liking to him because she sees like her missing husband in him, and basically, they have kind of a relationship, and he finally cleans up, and then he looks like a regular guy, and they have like bits of the A-Team in here too. Because it's a PG-rated movie, they try not to be, definitely PG, they try not to be too vulgar or anything like that in it. And basically, Richard Farnsworth said, like, he's trying to run for election. He needs that one guy's help. So he doesn't want anything going on that guy's property, who owns the town. And he left it in the hands of the deputy. And the deputy had a thing for Linda Blair, and he didn't like her hanging around with Linda Blair. He wanted to have a shot at her marrying him. He wanted to have a shot at marrying her or anyone else in the town, not him. So him and the guys tried to capture him and stuff and mess with him. And I don't want to give away a whole lot more. There was a part where they had him cornered. He made like his own bow and arrow to show you the comedy. This one guy was nuts. One hunter, he would shoot at anything. And then this one guy, he makes like Dirk Benedict makes this bow and arrow. He shoots this guy right in the butt, right? And he's like, oh! And his one friend freaks out, and he takes a gun and starts shooting all over it and stuff like, will you put that dang gun down? It was really funny. Even though there's serious parts and there's funny parts in this, it changes tone a lot. But I liked the movie. And it's weird because I remember Dirk Benedict, he was really popular in A-Team. That's when I first started seeing him. And I remember seeing him, he was in a horror film called, there's a bunch of S's all together with Strother Martin, where Strother Martin gives him all these injections and turns him into a snake. I remember seeing it on Encore back in the 90s. I remember buying like a 4-pack of a little box set of movies from Universal on DVD, and that was one of them. I watched it with my dad, and my dad said, this is scaring me. this is really, it had an effect on my dad. My dad said, I'm going to have dreams about this. But usually horror movies, my dad like, this isn't scary at all. This was back in, oh, we saw in 2008, 2009 or something like that. My dad said, this had a real effect on me. And then we watched Phantom 2. My dad thought that was stupid. I think we watched Funhouse. And he didn't watch Serpent and the Rainbow. Those are the 4 movies. But he said that snake movie had a real effect on him. Ruckus, I really enjoyed the movie. The one thing I didn't like the ending. Because I didn't think it really truly resolved a whole lot. Maybe, but I don't know. It seemed like they let everything off the hook too much. That's my only real qualm with the movie. So, I mean, if it wasn't for that, I would have gave it a higher rating, like a 9.5 out of 10. But I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 for Ruckus. It's very entertaining, though. I saw it on YouTube, and I hope you like this thing of a retrospective of 80's films, or maybe somewhat obscure, but I mean easy to find on YouTube. And I want to thank Tony Talant for making that really cool thumbnail. And I got a really neat shirt called "Take Care of My Legion." Very soft with my photo drawing of myself at the bottom, and I'll put the link in the description of that. And I hope you like that. You check out the site, and they may hopefully get a shirt or something. It's really cool. So I hope you like this video. Until next time, bye, please. Take care of my Legion. All right, awesome. Take care, everyone.